That is a Sheikah slate.
Throughout history, the representation of personal devices in media has reflected the social values of the time. This is especially true in social disparities. We all know what personal devices are. You're watching this on one now. These devices are so normal for us now. The media has drilled how we use them and who should have them. I'm here to talk about how personal devices in media influences the idea of social disparities and how it has changed over time. Take this for example, the Sheikah slate. We all know it's just an iPhone in disguise. The Sheikah slate is a device that allows Link to access the world map, the temperature, time, and camera, not mentioning its ability to control metal, freeze positioning and state of an object, later monsters and creatures after being upgraded. It can also create infinite explosions and create icebergs. Yeah, nobody uses that feature, but it also gets Wi-Fi. Anyway, its similarities to a phone is uncanny. The general size, shape, and use is similar to what we carry around in our pockets. Link is shown keeping the device at his hip, lifting it with one hand and looking at its screen. The game shows the convention of how privileged Link, the sole protector of the princess, can have easier access to more powerful technology and devices. The world is set before digital technology is widely used and is still being researched. The primary audience for this text is both young adults and mid to old teens, while still being approachable for all other ages too. The representation of social disparities would likely reinforce the idea of the norm of owning a mobile phone, while also showing disparities of technology between subclasses. Another example of social disparities shown with technology in the media is in Pokemon. The Pokédex is a device with information on every Pokemon, including their habitats, where to find them, weaknesses, and the best way to catch them. It's easy to think of it as a neutral encyclopedia, but it works a lot like real-world knowledge systems, both today and throughout history. The Pokédex is a device given to the trainers with the most potential. It gives data on every creature known to man, if it has some strange property, that is. However, as technology advanced, these devices became an app on a phone that all members of the Pokemon world could access. The use of mise-en-scene shows how wealthier areas of the Pokemon world show sleek and more complex designs, whereas more rural regions like Johto or Sinnoh have much more simple designs. In Alola, the Pokédex requires owning a Rotom and putting it inside the Pokédex to power it, implying a level of privilege needed to own a Pokédex. This compares to real life with how the look of tools signals power, status, and access. The dex often shows which Pokemon and groups are dangerous versus civilized, or which groups are best workers or their rarity, showing how the way we describe groups shapes how we treat them. The text in the Pokédex isn't objective. It reflects the worldview of whoever wrote it. That mirrors how encyclopedias, newspapers, and textbooks have always been shaped and written by the people in power. This Harris typewriter advertisement is more than a piece of old marketing. It's a snapshot of a world in transition. At the time, 1916, machines like this were reshaping office work, redefining who could participate in clerical labour, and symbolising the promise of modern efficiency. The ornate borders, confident language, and precise illustration weren't just a selling product. They were selling a vision of progress, professionalism, and social aspiration. This compares to the Pokédex with how technology becomes a symbol of who belongs in a particular world. The typewriter ad framed clerical work as modern and respectable, but only for certain workers. Pokédex does the same by giving advanced devices to certain regions or trainers to gain access to information into a quiet marker of status. over time, the advertisement shifts from a cutting-edge sales pitch to a historical document. It shows how societies use design, language, and technology to shape what progress looks like, and how those definitions change as the world moves on. What's interesting is that both the Harris typewriter ad and the Pokédex echo something we see again in the Sheikah slate. Each device represents a moment when technology becomes more than a tool, becomes a symbol of knowledge, authority, and who gets access to power. The Sheikah slate is ancient yet advanced, a piece of lost technology that only certain people can use. That mirrors the typewriter's role as a gateway into early office work, the Pokédex's role as a gatekeeper of information in the Pokemon world. All three devices show how societies wrap technology in myth, status, and selective storytelling. This turns everyday tools into markers of identity and privilege. Now, how does all of this compare with modern time technology? Apple's MacBook Air with M5 video is a masterclass in modern tech branding. The ad uses symbolic codes of sleekness, minimalism, and effortlessness. The MacBook Air isn't shown as a tool, it's shown as a lifestyle. Clean lines, floating animations, and soft gradient signals intelligence, calm and controlled. Technically, the ad leans on precision shots, smooth transitions, and hyper-polished product renders to communicate power without aggression. The visual language of quiet superiority. The pacing is tight and rhythmic. Quick cuts highlight features, while longer floating shots give the device a sense of weightlessness. The editing creates a feeling of inevitability, as if the MacBook Air is the obvious next step in personal tech. Just like the Harris typewriter ad, the Pokédex, and the Sheikah slate, the MacBook Air M5 ad turns technology into identity. The typewriter used ornate borders to sell modernity. Apple uses minimalism to sell the same dream. The Pokédex organizes knowledge and subtly defines hierarchy, just as the MacBook positions itself as a device for those who want to stay ahead. The Sheikah slate, like the MacBook, is framed as intuitive magic, a tool that grants abilities others don't have. Across all four, the pattern is consistent. Technology becomes a cultural mirror. It tells us who we are, who we want to be, and who gets to participate in the future. Whether it's a century-old typewriter, a fictional encyclopedia, an ancient magical iPhone, or Apple's newest laptop, each device carries the same promise that owning it brings you closer to the world you imagine for yourself. Ultimately, this video essay has shown that personal devices in media influence the idea of social disparities and how it has changed over time. Whether it's a century-old typewriter ad, fictional digital encyclopedia, an ancient magical tablet, or Apple's latest MacBook, each device becomes more than a tool, becomes a symbol. These objects shape how we imagine progress, who gets access to it, and what kinds of people or creatures are allowed to participate in the worlds they belong to. Across all these examples, the same pattern emerges: technology is never neutral. The Harris typewriter promised modernity to select workforce, the Pokédex defined value and hierarchy through data, the Sheikah slate granted exclusive power through ancient tech, and the MacBook Air sells a minimalist fantasy of effortless productivity. Each artifact reflects its era's hopes, biases, and inequalities. And by comparing them, we can see how our relationship with personal devices continues to evolve, revealing not just how we use technology, but how technology quietly shapes the stories we tell about ourselves. Thank you for watching.